Evidence-based policy making. In order to help in reducing the gap between policy planning, its objectives and deliverables, evidence-based policy making will help. The basics of policy making and data-driven or evidence-based policy making are explored in this piece. Policy analysis, evaluation and study of the formulation, adoption and implementation of a principle or course of action intended to ameliorate economic, social or other public issues. Policy analysis is concerned primarily with policy alternatives that are expected to produce novel solutions. Policy analysis requires careful, systematic and empirical study. Evidence-based policy, public policies, programs and practices are grounded in empirical evidence. The movement for evidence-based policy is an outgrowth of a movement in the United Kingdom in the 1990s calling for evidence-based medicine, which argued that only those treatment modalities such as drugs that are grounded in laboratory, which is experimental evidence, should be used. Evidence from randomized evaluation can yield insights and conclusions into questions at the heart of controversial policy debates. Since the past decade or so, evidence based policy making has gained traction, with some governments and NGOs having institutionalized process for rigorously evaluating innovations and incorporating evidence into decision making. The prerequisite for evidence based policy making is that the data must be trustworthy, and it depends upon the quality of data and the quality of professional statistician. Credible statistics is important for good governance and decision making in all sectors of society. Therefore, policymakers are more likely to use evidence in decision making if that evidence is unbiased, rigorous, substantive, relevant, timely, actionable, easy to understand, cumulative, and easy to explain to constituents. So, there are 8 skills required to support evidence based policy making, namely, understanding policy and science, interpersonal skills, synthesizing skills, managing expert communities, communicating scientific knowledge, advising policymakers, engaging with citizens and stakeholders, and monitoring evaluation. On 7th September 2017, the US Commission on Evidence-Based Policy Making, named Evidence Commission, released its final report to the President and the Congress with a strategy for better using the data that the government already collects. The report contained 22 recommendations that focused on responsibly improving access to government data, strengthening privacy protection, and expanding the capacity to generate and use evidence. Similarly, the Government of India is taking steps in the direction of evidence-based policy making. India needs evidence-based policy making for which a batch of surveys is being undertaken, said Government of India Minister Bhupender Yadav. Additionally, Niti Aayog, the government think tank, has launched the National Data and Analytics Platform called NDAP to improve access and use of government data. Niti Aayog aims to make data more accessible by hosting data in clean, machine-readable formats, ensuring data sets are interoperable and providing detailed documentation on the contents of each dataset. As of May 2022, NDAP hosts 203 datasets from across 14 sectors and 46 ministries. Data sets on the platform are required to meet a minimum data quality standard that is defined using NDAP's in-house 5-star rating framework. Applying this minimum standard ensures that all datasets on NDAP are accompanied by detailed documentation, have been mapped to a common data scheme, the local government directory, and have passed internal data quality checks to ensure that they remain true to the source. Features of this platform are self explanatory. The information can be used by various professionals as well as citizens. Data driven policy making will help in achieving and measuring targets. It will also lead to first understanding the demand and then effective distribution to eligible beneficiaries. After the pandemic, the need of policy making for betterment of the world is being highlighted more than ever.